Howdy friends, welcome back to Type 9 Studio. My name is Abby and I'm going to be answering a bunch of your questions from my community tab from older videos. Basically any question I think that has been asked that I haven't answered yet. Like if I didn't respond to your comment on a YouTube video, I might answer it in this video, especially if it was in the last like 5 or 6 months. I'm trying to catch up because I took a pretty long hiatus because my actual business went viral and I was a little busy to say the least. And surprisingly, my YouTube channel here did not drop off. It kept going. Like I got hundreds of new subscribers every month, even though I wasn't posting any videos at all. There's about 15 or so questions and I did not script this video like I usually do, so it might be a little bit The first two questions are comments from my most recent video about how to write listing descriptions, so check that out if you haven't seen it already. But the first question is basically asking about titles, and they said they hear it both ways. Like you would put a concise title, what the item actually is, or put just a bunch of keywords that are related to the item. I see and hear this both ways myself from other people who do what I do and share their tips for Etsy, or from just browsing shops on Etsy myself. In the Etsy Seller Handbook, they suggest to use short titles that like a human can read versus trying to cram a bunch of keywords like for SEO purposes, like for a robot. I believe mostly titles are going to be for the person, you know, buying the item versus SEO to some extent. But of course you want to have the main, most important keyword in your title just so the person knows what it is and doesn't get confused. And also it does play a small part in SEO. But as far as stuffing keywords in there, I wouldn't do that. As if you think of like Amazon listing titles, or if you've ever shopped on Wish, there can sometimes be like unrelated or irrelevant keywords in there, you know what I mean? So I would not do anything like that. Just stick to what the item is and something that's important about it, like if it's, you know, the color or the size, if that matters, just, you know, important stuff like that that a person would want to see, because when a person clicks on the listing, they're going to see the entire title, but like I said in the last video, they may not read the description. So you want to have like the most important bits in there. You might see a shop that is obviously very successful if they have like tens of thousands or even hundreds of thousands of reviews. They might have a title that is 2 or 3, maybe even just 1 word, and that item is ranked pretty highly in search. It's probably because that is either a really old shop and they have sold a lot of that item. So their quality score is just like through the roof. That's pretty much it. Like if you see something that is doing that well with not the best practices, that's probably why. But that doesn't mean you should do it as a relatively new-ish seller. Moral of the story here is don't really follow like what the top shops are doing, because it may not work for you as a smaller shop. They likely have thousands and thousands and thousands of people who like follow their shop, so every time they post something new they're going to get sales no matter what. Kind of got off on a tangent there, but just it depends. Like I don't really see a difference either way with my shop if I have a bunch of keywords versus not. So just experiment with it with your shop, and if you notice that they do better or worse with shorter or longer titles, then go with that. Number 2, I have a new print-on-demand shop. Is it good to start Etsy off-site ads? The answer to this is a big heck no. If you have the option, if your sales are less than the threshold to be able to turn off off-site ads, do it. Off-site ads are not worth it to me whatsoever. Unfortunately, for those of us who make, well, that sounds kind of weird to say, but like if you make over a certain amount of sales in a year, you cannot turn off the off-site ads. They do charge you a smaller percentage if you make a sale from that, but you can't turn it off. So if your shop is under that threshold, turn it off immediately, because it is not worth it. And that doesn't matter if you are print on demand or you hand make or you do digital downloads, whatever, just turn them off. And that's not regular Etsy ads, that is the Etsy offsite ads, which is different. They will show your posts like on Google and Instagram and stuff like that, and then charge you a percentage of the sale if that click from that off Etsy website brings you a sale. Here's a few from the community tab on YouTube, so make sure you check there. If you subscribe to me, it should just show up in your home feed of YouTube. Number 3, are you still doing Etsy audits, and can I pay you to just write a listing for me? Oh. So as of the time that I'm recording this, like right now, I am not doing them at the moment. I turned off, like I made the listing sold out on my Ko-Fi shop because I was going on vacation last month for a few weeks and I just didn't want to deal with that while I was on vacation. So the thing with the audits and reviews, whatever you want to call them. I need to find a better way to do them because it takes me so much time, even though I can basically copy and paste the same review for most shops that I review. But then the copy and paste doesn't cut it because I need to like reference specific examples and stuff like that. So it still ends up taking a lot of time. Like it usually takes about 3 hours for me to do one of those reviews, which is not ideal because there's a lot of things that I could do in 3 hours. So I am launching my website hopefully early 2023. And I'm going to migrate shop reviews, if I do them still in the same format, over to my website just so I don't have to use Ko-Fi. But I am looking at making a course based around the things that I find in every single shop review that I end up pointing out. So, but then again, like some people don't like recognize their own shop and like things that they're not doing right. A lot of times people will say, oh, I've done X, Y, and Z, and I'm still not seeing results, but then I go to their shop and they have not done X, Y, and Z. So I don't know how to fix that. And if I figure it out, I will let you know. But as for right now, I'm pausing temporarily the Etsy shop reviews. If you want to know when or if they come back, I have my email list linked in the description. If you go to links.type9studio.com, you can sign up for my mailing list and I will notify that way. Number 4, I'd love to know if there's a way you keep track of everything like a certain planner or spreadsheet. This is where I need help the most. Me too. There's not like a simple answer to this like most things, but there's just a lot of stuff to keep track of. So for tax expenses and stuff like that, keeping track of all of that, I use QuickBooks Self-Employed. And this is obviously not specific like tax or financial advice because I'm not an accountant or like a financial advisor or anything. So that's going to depend on whether you form an LLC, which I'm not even going to get into that. I file my taxes as a sole proprietor, which means I count my business income as like my personal income. That may not work for everybody, especially if you have other stuff going on, like maybe if your spouse also has a business, or if you have like certain income, like I don't even know. I don't know how to explain this. Like this works for me personally with my expenses and my husband's like tax income and all that stuff. QuickBooks Self-Employed because it integrates with TurboTax. Ever since I got my first job in like 2011 or 2012, I've always used TurboTax to file for free. I'm not sure what causes some people to have to pay for TurboTax, but that's never happened to me, so it's still free for me even though I have like Schedule C and all that stuff for my business. I do pay out the wazoo for QuickBooks Self-Employed. I think it's cheaper than regular, like full-on QuickBooks, but yeah, it's like $25 a month now. When I first started, there was like a promotion with Etsy for the first year. Maybe it was like $17 a month, something like that. But like, it's one of those things I just have to pay because I am not about to try to switch systems at this point. Like if I ever stop using QuickBooks, it'll be because I hire an actual accountant. Then for my budget for the business and for personal use as well, I can't do that with QuickBooks, so I use an app called YNAB, or You Need a Budget, and it just helps me to figure out like where my money is going, and I can set a budget for each month. It's like a zero-based budgeting system where you budget every penny and it all goes somewhere, instead of saying, oh, I think I have this much money to spend, or I have this much money to spend here, this much money to spend there. I just know exactly how much, and then when I input transactions, it will automatically calculate them, and it's great. And then for most everything else, I use Google Sheets. I use Google Sheets because I don't really see any point in buying Microsoft like Word or Excel or whatever, and it's free and I can access them from any computer and my phone, not just my computer at home. So if something happens to the computer, or if I'm out and about and need to check something on my phone, no problem. So I have a spreadsheet for my pricing formula. I have a spreadsheet for my in-stock inventory. I have a spreadsheet for the material inventory, it's like my raw materials. Then I have one that I've made like a social media content calendar kind of thing. I do it for Type 9 Studio and for my business on there. None of the spreadsheet stuff is super complicated either. Like I might do a few basic formulas, like I'll have it calculate things that I have sold, or like if I have, say, materials to make 5 of something and then 5 finished ones, I'll have it add them up together to equal the total, but that's about it. For day-to-day stuff, I use a planner that I like had printed myself at Staples but I don't think it's necessary. I don't know why I spent like forever last year making my own planner in Canva and then having it printed, but it's basically the same as just one that you buy, so just a regular planner. Main thing with that is finding something that works for you. So my method of like 15 different things might not work for everybody else. You might want something that's a bit more concise. I would suggest Google Sheets. Like just have one sheet, like one whole document, and then like at the bottom you can add new tabs or like new, I think those are called sheets. I don't know, but you can make like separate ones at the bottom within the same document. I think you know what I'm talking about. I would maybe do that, like have them all in the same place. I have like separate ones for inventory and then like a separate one for my social media stuff, but you could totally have it all in one. It doesn't really matter. And there are people out there who do kind of what I do on this channel, but they also, like on their website, they will sell like digital download like planner things. There might even be people on Etsy who do this, who will make one that's like a template that you can fill out, like pre-formatted. I didn't go that route because I just like having things personalized to me. So somebody else's business and like what they do may not fit with mine, you know. Number 5, is it better to sell something that few people sell with low competition but also maybe low buyer interest, or that lots of people sell with high competition but certainly lots of buyer interest? This is a really good question, and I've been trying to think of how to explain the answer. I did a video a while back about like the different types of Etsy sellers, and I talked about how some people just kind of want to do it as a hobby, and then some people want to like make a lot of money really fast, like basically just kind of build a business with it. So there's not really a wrong answer to this question. Like one may be better than the other for some niches, but really the first one, so like if you have low competition but also maybe lower search volume, you're gonna have to have something that is pretty like specific and that people may want but is not really available on Etsy like at all, because if there's low interest, you definitely don't want to have competition. There's obviously more potential to make more money with the second one, where there is a lot of competition but also a lot of demand. If you look at the top 10 or so Etsy shops, most of them are going to be either craft supplies, which people buy a lot of, or digital download type of like planner stuff, or like t-shirts, things that are personalized. But in order to compete with those, you're gonna have to have thousands of listings if you want to go that route, because most of the top shops do have thousands, maybe tens of thousands of listings. But there are a lot of shops who have a pretty small niche with like not really there's not millions of people flocking to Etsy to buy this thing, you know. They will have success by either being like the first in the niche, or they do something better, maybe have like better quality or like just better photos, even if it's not that much better quality. So I guess the bottom line is, if you want to scale and grow and do a lot with the shop, I would go for one that's like high competition. I mean, the ideal is going to be high demand and low competition. That is your best bet, but it's like a needle in the haystack to find something that doesn't already exist on Etsy, you know? But if you had to pick between one that's high competition, high demand, or one that's low competition, but also low demand, it just depends on what you want to do with it. Like if you're trying to do this in your spare time, I would not try to go for the high competition one. Maybe go for the lower competition one. Because like I said, if you go with the one that's high competition, you're going to absolutely have to have like thousands and thousands of listings in order to be seen in all of those other ones that you're competing with. Number 6, what would you recommend looking at regarding Etsy ads not performing well? I'm getting impressions, but nowhere near as many clicks as I want. So if you're getting impressions, but not any clicks, that's probably an issue with your photos, because people are searching for that thing if there's a lot of impressions for it. So you need something to make people more interested. So try updating your photos, be editing them to be a bit brighter. Go on Etsy, search for your item and see what the pictures look like for other listings and see how yours look next to them. Because if yours are like darker or maybe look a little bit more unprofessional, then people are probably not going to click on it. This could also, like I'm not saying this is definitely, but it could also be an issue of people are searching for something, but your item is not what they're searching for. So if you can, I have enough sales data to where I can go into the Etsy ads and see like for each listing what people are actually searching for to get to that item. So if you can see that information, see what it comes up. For a few of my items before this what they were searching for wasn't exactly what I was selling, so of course they're not going to click on it if it's not what they're searching for. So maybe see if there's an issue there. Number 7, this one So my staple is a 36-inch long rolling pin. How the bleep am I supposed to nicely photograph that? Yeah, that's a good question. So my suggestion, at least for the main photo, is to do like an action shot of you like rolling something with this comically large rolling pin. Just so people can see like how big it is. Like you might have to take it from like, say I'm standing here with the rolling pin, you might have to take it from like this direction, you know? Hopefully that makes sense. Like, so you, like the whole thing is in the shot. You're not gonna be able to like get it from like straight down or something. Like there's just no way. Especially for the main photo. Like for your other photos, you can maybe have it, I don't know if is your table even big enough? Like if you put it on a big enough table and like get far away enough to take a photo of it next to a regular size rolling pin, label the photo like mine and theirs or something, or like a standard and the extra long or whatever you want to call it. Okay, so number 8, love this video, so honest and descriptive. I would like to hear more about your tips and apps for a successful Shopify store. My website needs some attention. Also, can you post a TikTok that went viral? I haven't worked out what makes TikToks go viral yet, so I'd love to know what a viral TikTok looks like. I wouldn't consider my Shopify to be like successful at this point because I just started it just not even 2 weeks before it went viral. But I can tell you that a couple things that I definitely needed to have before it went viral was a restock notification app of some sort. If I'll find the one that I have and put it here. Just a disclaimer, I haven't used it yet because I haven't like done a restock yet, but I would have made potentially thousands more sales if I had that, because people were coming to my Shopify and seeing stuff that was sold out and I did not have that feature. And people may or may not have, most people didn't sign up for my email list to be notified. So yeah, you might want to have that. And I talked about this in my video about the whole viral situation. If you have an Etsy and a Shopify, I would strongly suggest to use an app called Trunk. But if you just go to Trunk's website, I have my referral link in the description, but it will sync your Etsy and Shopify inventory. All you have to do is just have them be the same SKU number and it will sync them. Because I had major issues with stock levels in both places because I wasn't sure how much to put where. But once I figure out like some more things to tell you about Shopify, I will, because I, at this point, am not like an expert at Shopify by any means. As far as posting the TikTok video that actually went viral, I'm not comfortable with that just because I don't disclose my Etsy shop name on here. It's not Type 9 Studio if you're new to my channel. I keep them separate for a lot of reasons. There is no specific formula for a video to go viral. Like you can copy my video to the T. I did the exact same video like a year and a half prior and it didn't go anywhere. So it just really depends on a lot of things. If there was a secret or like a way to actually make a viral video, everybody would do it and then it would be pointless. So it just happens sometimes. But in my last video, I did explain, not my last video, but in that video about the viral thing, I explained kind of what I thought made it go viral. So I don't know. Number 9, I think, was from my video about how many listings do you need really on Etsy. And they said that they were a drop shipper on Etsy, and does that work for drop shipping? Like, does it make the algorithm aware that I am a drop shipper or not? So I'm not really like sure what exactly you're asking or what you mean by drop shipper, because drop shipping, the way that I understand drop shipping, is not allowed on Etsy. So I think they're asking if Etsy will think they are if they do this. So basically, if you're unfamiliar, drop shipping is where you take orders for something and then you send the order to like a manufacturer or somebody else to then ship the item directly to the customer. This is not the same as something like print on demand where you design the item and then somebody else prints and ships it for you. That's completely different. Like the print on demand is allowed on Etsy. Drop shipping is not, I don't think drop shipping is explicitly banned, but the problem with drop shipping is you probably did not design the item and it's probably like a mass-produced thing, which is not really allowed. So it's like one listing a day works for any niche, really. Like it's just a way for you to be consistent. Like the number isn't the most important thing. The most important thing is just being consistent and keeping adding new listings. But if you are doing something that is not allowed on Etsy, which I am not suggesting that you do, it's just more likely that you're going to be caught the more listings you have. So, you know, maybe don't. Number 10, what happens if you change the price of the item? Does that affect the quality score of that listing? So it just a little bit. So this does count as a recent change to the item. So for your quality score, you get just like a little bit of a boost from your like listing being changed a little bit. So if you want to go in every now and then and change some tags, a little bit of the description, or like change the photos, something like that, that counts as the item being like recently updated. And I'll do this every, like at least once a week. I'll spend about an hour just updating my listings. Like I'll sort them by ones that are about to expire, but I'll start changing things around just to see if I can get a little bit of a boost and get maybe a sale or two on that item before it expires. But yeah, the price, it does count for like an update because it is changing something. So if you don't have a listing to add like a new one every day, then you could change something every day. Number 11, I have been working on products on Printify to use with my own product. I guess they're looking at Printify to print some products for them. I was wondering if you use the pictures from the website as a mock-up or if you order a sample and take pictures from that. So I would suggest to either order a sample and take photos yourself, or hire somebody, or maybe learn how to do this on Photoshop to make a mock-up that looks more realistic than just the image like slapped onto a blank t-shirt that looks obviously like a mock-up. Because you want to show items that are wearable, like being worn on someone, so they look more realistic and they're like, oh, okay, this is gonna fit this way, or this is how this shirt looks on a person. But just do not like post a picture, like don't have the front image be just the design, because I've seen people do that and they're like, why am I not getting any sales? I'm like, bestie, that's why. This design could be anything. You have to show it on a shirt or whatever it's going to be on, a tote bag, hat, whatever it is. So at least have it like on a real shirt, on a person wearing it, or even a mannequin, something. Number 12, do you have a Facebook group? I searched, but I can't find any. No, I will never have a Facebook group because I hate Facebook. I only use it because I was required to be in groups for certain things, like for vendor stuff. Yeah, I wouldn't even have a Facebook if it wasn't for that. Although I have thought about doing the memberships thing on YouTube. So if you've watched YouTube a lot, you've probably seen people have like a join button next to their subscribe button. I can do that now, but I don't know what I would do on there. So if anybody has suggestions on like what else, because I don't want you to just pay for that for no reason, you know what I mean? Like I want to offer something like other discussions or stuff like that on that page, but yeah, I don't know. That's why I didn't do that on Ko-Fi, because a lot of people weren't comfortable going off of YouTube or wherever they were to do that. So yeah, let me know if you would join and like how much you would join for, because I really don't know. It's number 13. This is a really good question. They said, can your quality score, I can never say that, geez. Can your quality score improve over time? I started a print shop in 2016 and didn't start to really push it until 2020. Same. My sales in shop improved, but I am having a hard time getting past this point of achievement. I'm wondering if it's the quality score of my shop and the age of my shop. Since I didn't touch it for the first 4 years, if that affected my quality score. If you haven't seen my like about my shop or like my shop story video from like a long time ago, this is basically what happened to me. So I was able to overcome this, and you can if you basically start over your listings. Like it's not so much the age of your actual shop, but if your listings just keep sitting there with no sales and get renewed, that's negatively impacting your quality score. Even if you still offer those listings for sale, copy them, like where you can edit the listing, just make a copy of it, and then deactivate the old listing and keep the new one. And then at this time you can change up photos or descriptions or whatever else you want to do, and that will help your quality score by getting rid of those old ones with bad quality score. Because this one has a couple questions in it. So number 14, does the Instagram follower count increase translate to an increase in sales? No, not always. Like you can have hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram and not make a dime. It's just how you engage with them and what people respond to your content on Instagram and stuff that counts. Like followers don't mean sales basically. Then they said, also, have you considered Pattern instead of Shopify? That way you have a single point of inventory control. So I briefly mentioned Pattern, I think, in a video about the tools that you actually need for an Etsy shop, and I ranked Pattern at like the absolute lowest. I did not ever consider for a second using Pattern. I think it's terrible, to be quite honest. Pattern is not as customizable as Shopify. They don't have the support that Shopify does. I needed something on my Shopify website to be fixed. It was just a simple thing. I chatted with Shopify support, got it fixed in like 10-15 minutes. But if you need something like on Etsy, good luck, okay? So I don't like that. The crossover between the Pattern and Etsy is not like exactly the same. So you can have listings that are specific to one or the other, so it's not automatically like all the same. And it is still controlled by Etsy, and you are still under Etsy's foot basically for your listings and the things that you have on there. So I would not recommend Pattern. I would suggest to go to Shopify. And also there are thousands and thousands, like I think hundreds of thousands at this point, of different apps and things you can get for your Shopify, different integrations for it. And you cannot do that with Pattern on Etsy. Which, if you didn't know what Pattern was, Etsy has like a Shopify alternative where you can have your own domain, but it looks like your own website, but it's still controlled by Etsy. And it's also like putting all of your eggs in one basket. So if something happens to your Etsy, your Pattern is also going to be shut down. And that's not going to happen with Shopify because you own your Shopify and Etsy owns your Etsy. And with the inventory control aspect, it sucks that I have to pay for a separate app to sync them. Basically, that cost of having the extra app to sync my Etsy and Shopify outweighs the negatives of Pattern, for me at least. Okay, number 15, can you give some tips for how to revive an old Etsy shop? I'm selling digital SVG files for the Cricut. So I kind of mentioned this in my answer to number 13. So I actually made a whole video about this and decided not to post it because I didn't think it turned out very good. If you want to sell the same thing, it's pretty easy. So if you do what I suggested earlier, to just copy your old listings, even if you're selling the exact same ones, just copy them and deactivate the old ones. That's going to reset your quality score for those listings, and then you have a better chance of getting sales on them. And you want to take that time to update titles, tags, descriptions, photos. And then Etsy also has a lot of new attributes you can fill out. Like now they have the sustainability attributes. They have added new categories, so make sure that you're still fitting into those. But for instance, if you are selling something completely different, or your shop like previously had some bad reviews or something like that where you kind of want to start over, then I would suggest to start over. You can change your shop name if you're like selling something different and want to call it something different. And you want to make sure you go back in and update your like your policies and your Q&A or your FAQ sections, your About Me section, all that stuff. Make sure that's all up to date. It doesn't have anything old about like your old products or whatever. So I guess you'll basically be starting over either way, but it's up to you whether you want to like completely scrap the actual shop and make a new one or keep the old one. Also, the last one, I completely skipped over this part, but they said, like from question number 14, they also said that they think this year will be tough for any retailer of non-essentials. I agree. Like the last several years have actually been not great for non-essentials. With the recession and like gas prices have kind of stabilized at this point, kind of. But like groceries and stuff just keep going up, and the prices of everything else keeps going up. So I think people are not going to spend as much money like this holiday season. So just be kind of mindful of that. Let me know in the comments if you have any other questions you want me to answer in a future Q&A. I might do these maybe once a month, every 2 months going forward. Or if you have anything like any of these questions or any other topics that you want to see an entire video about, then let me know that as well. That's it for me today. I've been filming for way too long and I need to do other stuff, so I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.